We finally got to see teleport for the first time today, and it was all very exciting. You know, we drove up there and got out, and Jim showed us the boat.
You know, there are times when I wish you were still mine, but I'd reached the point where I was tired of the maintenance, and as long as it's in the hands of someone for whom the designer intended it, which is someone exactly like you.
So we've just turned up here and just been shown around the boat. So much work to do. Bit of a worry. Jim's now emptying out a huge amount of water that he discovered in the bilge. The bilge is basically overflowing. But yeah.
So the boat really does not look like it did in the pictures. But I mean, I was just so excited that it's our boat, so we can do whatever we like with it.
It all looked pretty good on the outside, and then we came inside and it was a little bit of a nightmare, to be honest. The whole boat's like on the skylight and stuff, there's just tape hanging down holding the whole thing together, dirt and stuff everywhere, and everything's falling apart. Paint is just flaking off.
I am a little bit daunted about how much stuff that we have to do in about a month.
It just started raining really badly, but yeah, I guess rain is not all bad. It's showing us where all the leaks are in the boat. But yeah, we've got heaps to do. We need to narrow this step so we can actually get in there and use the deck. Got to make a new table here. We need to make a new hatch for that.
This is our engine and we have to check it works and learn all about it. Okay.
Got to put some grab rails in so we can actually hang on. The whole thing's wasted space, so we might try and seal that in and make an ice box, make a big ice box. We've got to work out why the mast is leaking here, fix that up. Got to move all that electronics from there up into a proper little nav station room up there. We need to clean out the whole water tank system and flush it out and get that working. Got to redo the installation here, put more foam up here. So you can see the fiberglass is actually separated away from the keel there, and the whole thing is just bulging with water, which we have to get out. Probably have to re-fiberglass the whole of the keel bit there. It's really bad.
This is the kind of work, this is what's going to take you a little bit of time, right? Like, you know, you might be into a little bit of beefing up and stuff like that structurally wise, and making it a little bit stronger.
Whoa. So as you can see, we're under a massive task which took us about a day to construct.
So we've just decided we've really got to re-fiberglass the whole deck, which is a pain in the ass. So now we've got to actually go along and unscrew every little thing on the deck. And we've got to sand the whole deck and then chip away all the bits of paint, wipe the whole thing with like acetone, and then fiberglass the whole thing. We've just gone and bought heaps of fiberglass. So we've just borrowed 2 grinders from 2 different yachties around here. Everyone's so friendly. So we've just scrounged up 2 grinders and we're about to go up there and put on all our goggles and stuff and just go and try and chip off all that paint from the whole deck so that we can fiberglass tomorrow morning. And we've got to get it all finished by the end of tomorrow. So we've been here for about a week now trying to fix up our boat, and it seems to be getting worse and worse.
We're absolutely exhausted. We don't get to bed till 12 o'clock each night, and we work all through the night. And every time we do something else comes up that makes the problem even worse.
A while ago you probably saw we had this little bit of rotten wood over in the corner of the cockpit. I'm trying to try and get that bit out. And it just gets bigger and bigger, and now the whole of that cockpit's gone. We thought this cockpit was okay, but that's all gone as well. We've got to chisel the whole thing out.
We've broken 3 grinders just trying to get the stupid paint off the deck.
And there's one patch up forward, another patch of rot, that as I was cleaning that out, the chisel actually went through into the hull. So we finally finished taking out all the rotten wood and building up all this new wood in little jigsaw puzzle kind of pieces to make it all fit. And it's the last little bit. Now I've just got to glue it all down and then fiberglass over the top and paint it, and then our cockpit will be waterproof.
Chris and I have spent the last few days working in Terry's workshop, and it's been fantastic. We've made cool hatches for the cockpit and nav station bench, as well as some cupboards for the galley. We've made utensil holders, saucepan holders, and an awesome table for the saloon. But Terry has been an absolute mentor for us, helping us at every turn with equipment, designing, and just being a great friend.
So we just fired the engine up for the first time, and it worked briefly, and then we turned it off. And then when we turned it back on again, water started pissing out through all these I guess cracks in the cranking shaft part of the engine and all this stuff that just shouldn't have water in it. Every single thing that can go wrong, and a few other things that you think couldn't possibly go wrong, they've all gone wrong. What a nightmare.
Chris and I have spent the last 2 weeks fiberglassing the entire deck. I've done 3 coats of paint, all in a huge effort to try and get all the deck fittings back on, which is a laborious process, trying to find out where they all used to go, putting loads of sealant around the outside so they don't leak anymore, and screwing them, hammering them in any way we can. And we've just started taping off the deck ready for the anti-skid Kiwi grip.
So we finally got to work on the keel, helped by local fiberglass expert Bill. Basically cut off the whole panel, the whole region there that had been delaminated, and underneath it was like all rotten and soft, and it was a bit of a nightmare. But he mixed up a whole lot of polybond glue stuff and squished it all in there. Ended up taking weeks and weeks of work actually. Every night for about 2 weeks, fixing it up, sealing it, more layers of stuff, and eventually he put the panel back on just in time. We were racing against time actually. There was a hurricane coming with 120 km/h winds and rain and all that kind of stuff, which would have just soaked the whole thing again. We would have had to wait for ages, but he finally got it back on, and then just sanded it and made it all nice and fair.
We just experienced our first hurricane in Teleport, and it was awesome. Chris and I were running around taking photos of all the cool boats leaning over sideways, and we had a little leakages, which is good. We found out where our leaks are so we can fix them before we actually get in the water. One of our hatches flew off, and our bilge got a bit of water in it, but aside from that it was all pretty good. It was pretty rocky on the crater, which was a bit scary, but we ended up just watching a movie and snuggling in bed. Nice way to spend a hurricane.
All is not lost perhaps with our engine. Apparently this happens all the time, so we're now draining the engine out, taking apart various parts of the air intake and flushing out the whole exhaust system, and hopefully, major fingers crossed this time, when we try to start it again, after we change all the oil and everything, maybe it'll come back to life.
We got so close to launching. We were going to launch tomorrow actually. That was the plan on Friday. We just took the, what are they called?
The little chock, like the pad supports that are holding the boat up, the 4 little chock things. We pulled them down just to see what was underneath them, just to check the last bit of the hull. And 3 of them out of the 4 have like just soft patches, like tap, 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 tonk, tonk, and you're like, oh. And you go and Bill gets the drill and gets and drills into it, and it's not too bad. It could be a lot worse.
But it pretty much adds another 2 days.
What do you really think
about the whole thing?
Yeah.
It just sucks. I was so excited about getting in the water.
So we've got about an hour left before she gets launched, and
pretty exciting, pretty stressful.
And our mate Terry said his final word of advice was maybe you should take all the valuable stuff off the boat.
Ouch.
Great.
But yeah, hopefully it'll be all good.
Hopefully everything's waterproof and she floats. Alright, let's go. So the tractor pulled and then with a sudden lurch, Teleport kind of started dragging forward. We stood back with a whole bunch of onlookers as it seems a pretty primitive system. The tractors just literally drag the yacht across the tarmac, sliding little bits of wood under there, but got dragged all the way across the whole marina, across the other side, where they then switched over to a pushing tractor and pushed us back down onto the actual launching ramp.
They'll take you down to a point where it's not floating but it's underwater.
Yeah.
And then just check all your through hulls and check your stuffing box. Just make sure nothing's pouring in.